While I checked my phone, I noticed I had 13 missed calls, all from my mother-in-law Martha. Not again. While I was thinking about it, my phone vibrated once more. I answered. Hello. Martha sounded angry. Excuse me, wasn't the allowance for this month should be $3,000? It's overdue. Excuse me, I told you to send the allowance. This month's payment hasn't been deposited yet. Martha ranted, ignoring my situation and only thinking about what she wanted. I was fed up with her. Even in this situation, she didn't think about what she said and does. Right, I have no choice. Going for my last option. I gathered my thoughts and told my phone my son has passed away, so I can't send an allowance anymore. I'm Jennifer Smith, 32 years old, a busy woman working at a major financial firm, and a housewife. I got married about 2 years ago to my beloved husband Mark, whom I met through our shared hobbies. His nature and warm smile cranked me in, and we quickly developed feelings for each other. After a year of dating, we got engaged and were convinced we were the best for each other. We lived together without major quarrels, so we decided to marry. Everything was smooth until a problem arose. Martha, my mother-in-law. My father-in-law passed away a few years ago, leaving Martha as Mark's only family. The trouble began when he first visited her lovely house a few years ago. Before our wedding, "Nice to meet you, Martha." It clearly showed displeasure. "So, you're a Mark's fan?" "Yes, I'm Jennifer Miller. You're a rather plain girl. Wonder what Mark sees in you." Huh. I couldn't tell if she was joking. Heb status code was 200. My mother asking and observing one's distress shocked me. "Stop it." Mark called. "Hey Mom, what's with the sudden harsh words? How can you say such things about the person I chose?" "No, Mark, I'm just trying to pick a suitable woman for you, Peck. I'm the one who chose her. You have no right to interfere." "Don't say it in such a cold way. I'm just telling the truth because I care about you. If you were thinking of me, you'd simply support us. Why can't you understand such a simple thing?" An argument unfolded between mother and son right before my eyes, making the air heavy. As it was my first meeting with Martha, I wasn't in a position to intervene. Despite the lingering awkwardness, we eventually convey our intent to marry. As we were leaving, Martha said to Mark. Mark sounded somewhat disgruntled. "Mark, can I have a word?" "You're going to keep that promise after you get married, right?" "What promise? Do you know about the allowance?" That. Yes, I'll be sure to take care of that." "Can we not discuss it here, please?" "Well, I was just asking." The tension between my husband and his mother persisted, and discomfort hung thick in the air in the car on the way home. I asked Mark, as we were leaving, "Hey Mark, about the talk you had with your mom." "Yeah." "I should have told you about it, Jennifer. I heard something about an allowance. After my dad passed away, I've been sending money to my mom every month." "How much?" $2,000. "What, $2,000? I couldn't help but raise my voice in surprise. He sighed deeply and began to explain slowly. "My mom has a few years ago, during a trip to the casino, she lost a lot of money, and she is still repaying this debt. But it is a long time ago, and her health does not support her these days, forcing her to spend most of her life at home. In the meantime, the money she spends daily doesn't disappear, and she has to keep living, right? So $22,000, isn't it a bit too much, or will it sound inappropriate to decrease this number?" I was very confused by Martha. She keeps calling me over and over, and no matter what, a mother was still a mother. I worry about her living alone. I see Mark is devoted to his mother, but that makes sense since his father passed away. Martha has been the only family he has left. Regardless of her character, she's still his beloved mother. At that time, I only saw my husband as a kind person. 2 months after our wedding, when I was at my lunch break, I got a call on my smartphone. When I answered it with a hello, she began to speak cheerfully. "Jennifer, long time no see. Can we chat for a bit?" "Yes, what can I do for you?" "Well, I was hoping you could start sending me money." "Excuse me." I was so taken aback I couldn't find words to respond. However, she seemed excited to continue the conversation. "You mentioned before that you're working for a financial company, right? That means you have a good salary, doesn't it?" "Well, not exactly." "Why are you lying to avoid giving me money?" "That's not what I mean." "Then what is it?" "But she said, rather coyly. Martha, you're still receiving financial support from Mark, aren't you? To my question, she responded defiantly. So what? I sternly expressed my feelings. Martha, getting $2,000 monthly support is a big deal, and you're still asking for more. You think so? If you were to send me an additional $1,000, I could avoid burdening Mark. What do you mean by that? Well, I have Mark as a guarantor for my debts. If I fail to make payments, the debt collectors will go after him. Do you understand? But aren't you using part of Mark's $2,000 to pay back the debt? I'm short. I haven't told Mark, but I have a significant amount of debt. Martha's tone made it clear that this was a fact even her husband was unaware of. With plans of having children, our expenses were set to increase. On top of that, taking over Martha's debt wasn't an easy task, but if payments failed to be transferred and the debt was left on Mark, the interest would likely accumulate by then. It seemed better for Martha to clear her debt now. Reluctantly, I agreed to Martha's proposal. All right, I'll start sending you the money. Really good God, Jennifer. I knew you would say that. The total, with Mark's contribution, will be $3,000. But this means you can pay off your debt. Yes, of course, I should be able to pay it all off in about a year. You promise, right? You'll make sure to pay off all your debts. I get it, so I'll be expecting it from this month onwards. Martha ended the call abruptly. The combination of physical exhaustion from work and this emotional burden only added to my stress. $1,000 a month, that's going to be rough, but it's also to prevent future problems for us. After all, if Martha can't make a living, it will upset Mark as well. That night, I promptly reported the matter to my husband. He told me I didn't have to do this, but I had already given my word to Martha, and it was a decision made for our future well-being. Mark expressed his gratitude and understanding, wearing a sorry expression throughout. Time passed and 2 years have gone by. The financial support we initially thought would last a year is still ongoing, and even now we're sending $3,000 every month to Martha. Moreover, about 2 months ago, Mark fell ill and hasn't been able to work. He's on sick leave receiving disability benefits, but it's much less than his previous salary. Last month, I managed to transfer $3,000 to Martha from my savings. But if this situation continues, it will be very challenging. Shockingly, Martha has not visited her sick son even once despite informing her about his hospitalization. She doesn't show up and only contacts me to ask, "You're still sending the money, right?" I was furious and decided to talk to Mark about it. Mark, listen, is it not wrong that Martha is only concerned about money despite your condition? We need to seriously consider what to do moving forward. Yeah, I've been thinking the same thing. I don't want to overburden you. Jennifer, this month, likewise, she is continuously bombarding me with calls and messages, asking if we have sent the money yet. Can you imagine? How come she only focuses on money without thinking her son is sick? Mark was frustrated at his mother. His face depicted weariness. Then with a sudden, Mark said, I have thought it. Anne grinned slyly. What? I asked. Well, this is our last chance. I have thought something unconventional. Unconventional, said Jennifer for my mother. What has Mark proposed? My imagination was beyond my reach. Even though it would be considered inappropriate, it seemed the only way to make Marta comprehend. A few weeks later, Mark was discharged from the hospital. Since Marta hadn't replied to our messages, we hadn't informed her about Mark's release. In the last 2 weeks, Marta had been demanding a lot. What do you need? Asked Mark. Marta and I were having tea. A pop-up message appeared on my phone. I checked, and there were 13 missed calls from Marta again. As expected, my phone vibrated again. There was another call from Marta. Hello, I responded, switching on the speaker microphone so that Mark could also listen. Marta ADM immediately began shouting, Listen, where is the $3,000 for this month? Excuse me, I replied. That's right, the money for this month hasn't been transferred yet. Pay up. But do you realize Mark is in? I began, but Marta cut me off. I don't care if he's in the hospital or whatever. It's none of my business. You're working at a good place, right? You must have enough savings there. Hurry up, send it here. Martha was yelling furiously. Finally, after uttering something unbelievable, listen, since you have married Mark, if he can't pay, you have to pay me. Understood? If you refuse, I will make you the guarantee, got it? In that moment, something inside me snapped. She was openly demanding money without considering our situation at all. I had to reach my breaking point with her. I didn't have any other choice but to turn to the last option. Mark has passed away. I cannot send you any more money. At this point, she blurted out, shocked. What? Was the gauge that my husband had suggested, which was to lie to Marta that Mark had passed away and record her reaction if she showed any sign of sadness, reflected on her behavior, and apologized we would continue to support her financially. But as she didn't reflect and demanding money, we would cut all ties. Deep down, I am quiet. I believe that even someone like Martha would deeply reflect on her actions if she were told that her own son had died. But in the very next moment, Martha burst into loud laughter. Yea, what's so funny? I asked. Well, isn't it obvious? If Mark is dead, his inheritance will be distributed to me too. Excuse me, I've been looking into it since I heard that Mark was sick. Listen here, 2/3 of Mark's assets are yours, but 1/3 is mine. I was unable to find any words. I never thought that when she first heard that her son was sick, she wouldn't look into treatment, but into how the inheritance would be divided. My anger surpassed. I was simply dumbfounded. My husband seemed to feel the same way, and as our eyes met, he slowly nodded. This was the signal to continue with the plan. Once again, I spoke firmly to Martha. Martha, did you hear what I said? Mark is dead. I heard, she said. What about it? Aren't you sad your son passed away before you? You, just make sure to send me some. I won't let you get away with not doing it. There was a click, and the phone line was cut off, and a dial tone echoed. I glanced at my husband. He was shaking, his face red with anger. Mark, are you okay? I asked. As I asked, my husband looked into my eyes. I'm cutting ties with her. She'll likely come here eventually demanding money. Let's wait until then, okay. But are you really okay with this cutting off ties just like that? I inquired. Yeah, I have no regrets. After that call, she's no mother. My husband's eyes were filled with hatred, and I felt the same way. A person who only thinks about money over her own son's life is not family to me. As we expected, Martha came to our house a few days later. For the time being, I decided to hide my husband in the next room and deal with Martha myself. Then Martha approached me with a face like a demon. Hey, give me Mark's inheritance right now. No, I replied. Again with that, anything else to say? He's already dead, isn't he then? It's pointless to say anything now, yay? Never even visited him. What are you saying? Are you really his mother? You're so annoying. Give me the inheritance right away. I don't mind getting a lawyer, speaking more would be a waste of time. Just as I thought that my husband emerged from the next room. Seeing him, Martha let out a startled gasp as if she had seen a ghost. Mark, why weren't you dead? Long time no see. Mom, sorry, but the news about my death was a lie. Lie? How could you be so disrespectful? I wanted to confirm your true nature, Mom. I was curious about how you'd handle the allowance if your son died, but you turned out to be a gold digger, just as I suspected. I got that perfectly. What? How dare you call your mother a gold digger? Silence. I'm cutting ties with a toxic parent like you. Martha's mouth was agape at my husband's angry shouts. She could not come to terms with the fact that her son was severing ties with her. What? What does this mean, Mark? It means exactly what I said. I can't consider someone like you as my mother. No way. Then what about the allowance? Do you think I'll? You're on your own with the debts. We're moving. Wait, please. If you do that, what about my living expenses? With tears in her eyes, Martha reached out to my husband. He forcefully shook off her hand, looked at her coldly, and said, I don't care about your living expenses. You have been living off us without even a single apology. I understand your despicable nature now. Don't you show up in front of us again? No, wait. Mark, are you going to abandon your mother? Ignoring her words, my husband seized Martha's arm and guided her to the front. On reaching the door, he tossed her shoes and banged outside, and I escorted her out of the house. Martha created commotion outside for a while, but she eventually disappeared. It is possible she was not able to stand the scrutiny of the neighbors. She tried to contact us several times, but we ignored all of them. We had to hang up every time. Just to summarize regarding the issue of Martha's allowance, the issue of co-signing for the debts became invalid. Martha had made Mark the co-signer of the debts without his consent. Due to that, he was not supposed to be responsible at all since we did not allow Martha to do that. She is leading a hard life nowadays, but this is what is needed. It is only natural that she had been using the allowance for gambling. She does not have that privilege anymore and is being made to work tirelessly from dawn to dusk. She probably will never be able to fully deliberate her debts shortly. She will have to keep working until she is no longer able to. As for us, we live peacefully in our new home. We enjoy fulfilling days. My husband's health has stabilized and he has gone back to his work. After some time, I discovered a new life was growing inside my belly. We are expecting an additional member of the family next year. As a family of 3, at that time we decided to enjoy our happy moments.